Okay, let's take a look at the beautiful unit circle that I have over here. And now I already listed the angles and also the corresponding ordered pairs. Please watch the video on the ordered pairs on how to memorize a unit circle, but in order to save some time and make this video a little shorter, I have it listed already here. So these are our common angles: pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, aka 30, 45, 60 degrees, and of course the equivalent angles in each quadrant. Now I just want to review: in quadrant 1, all angles are positive. There's a little mnemonic that you can remember, hopefully, to know which sign belongs to what. So in quadrant 1, we have all signs positive, the x values are positive, and the y values are positive. And we want to look at the trigonometric functions today. That means all trigonometric functions are positive in quadrant 1. Now in quadrant 2, you see that the x values are negative and the y values are positive. And I will explain this in a second. But let me just write this little mnemonic down. All students, and I'll tell you in a second what the S stands for, take calculus. So there's a little mnemonic that helps you to remember in which quadrant which trigonometric function from over here is either positive or negative. So all means all 6 trig functions that I've listed over here are positive. The S stands for sine. The sine is positive in quadrant 1, not only the sine, but also its reciprocal, which is the cosecant. So the sine and the cosecant, they are positive. The other 4 trig functions are negative. T, what do you think T stands for? If you look at your trig functions, there's only one, and that means tangent. So in quadrant 3, the tangent and its reciprocal, the cotangent, are positive, while the rest of the trigonometric functions are negative. And in quadrant 4, of course, C stands for cosine. The reciprocal of cosine is the secant. And in quadrant 4, the cosine and the secant are positive, the other 4 are negative. So keep that in mind. All students take calculus. That is a good way to remember. Also, always try to draw a picture. Now, based on the unit circle, remember the unit circle, the radius is 1. We discovered that the sine t, and t is your angle, represents the y value of your ordered pairs on each of these points on the circle that were generated by the angle. So we have our ordered pair for pi over 6, 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2, and comma 1/2 is your y coordinate. So the sine represents the y-coordinate, the cosine represents the x-coordinate, and the tangent is y over x, aka sine over cosine. Now these are the reciprocal trig functions. The reciprocal of the sine is called cosecant, which is 1 over y. The secant is 1 over x, and the cotangent is x over y. So let's take a look. So let's say the angle T is pi over 6. Let's find all 6 trig functions. So the sine of pi over 6 in this case is the y value, and the y value here is 1/2. Positive, of course, because in quadrant 1 all functions, all trig functions are positive. So once we have the sign, we can automatically also find the cosecant of pi over 6, which is the reciprocal of 1/2, 2 over 1, or just 2. Next one, the cosine of pi over 6 is the x-coordinate, and the x-coordinate is the square root of 3 over 2. The secant of pi over 6 is the reciprocal, which would make it 2 over square root of 3. Now, this is trigonometry. You have to remember from your previous algebra courses that you need to rationalize the denominator. Unless stated, you don't have to. So that means we need to multiply numerator and denominator by the square root of 3. We are rationalizing the denominator. In the numerator, you have 2 square root of 3. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which just becomes a 3. So you must rationalize the denominator unless it's otherwise stated. The tangent of pi over 6 is y, which is 1/2, divided by square root of 3 over 2, which means we have to multiply by the reciprocal, 2 over square root of 3. The 2's reduce, and we are left with 1 over square root of 3. Again, we need to rationalize, multiply by the square root of 3, numerator and denominator, which leaves you with the square root of 3 over 3. Okay, now the cotangent of pi over 6 is the reciprocal, which the initial one was 1 over square root of 3, so that would be square root of 3 over 1. We do not have to rationalize here. So that's how you find the 6 trigonometric functions based on the unit circle. Let me just do one more. Let's take a look at t equals 4 pi over 3. Okay, 4 pi over 3 is in quadrant 3. We have the sine, let's just do the first 3. The sine of t, the y value is negative square root of 3 over 2. The cosine of 4 pi over 3, I should have said that in the other one, is the x value, which is negative 1/2, and the, not the cotangent, the tangent of 4 pi over 3 would be the reciprocal, negative, well, if I multiply, it would be the sine of square root of 3 over 2 times, here you go, the reciprocal of negative 2 over 1, and you can see why the tangent is positive in quadrant 3. You reduce your 1s and we have your 2s, and you have a negative times a negative, which is a positive, and you end up with positive square root of 3. Here you go. That's how you find the trigonometric functions based on the unit circle.